Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today we're looking at the Chonan delay in action, which is one of the first battles in the Korean War. Essentially, well, it's a delaying action. So what you have here is the 34th Regiment of the 24th Division. So we've got the 1st there and the 3rd over here. The rule doesn't really specify how much there was of what, but I think that's representative. And then it just basically says the 4th Division up here. Hopefully they should all be in play. There should be sort of that many of them. I had a bit of a problem specifying that. Anyway, sort of interesting. I mean, the only reference I've got to this, it's not really got a battle, is this map, which is, and that's it. So it says delaying action, and it's Chonan, so I called it the Chonan delay in action. It's got the 34th Infantry withdrawal, Axis North Korean attack, and that's it. So I thought it looked like a nice simple map and a nice simple arrangement, so let's sort of see what happens. I mean, not really a lot of point getting the mouse tool out, but I will, just for one simple point, just to reiterate. It says they basically come down here. I mean, obviously this is just the map, like that. So this is on the evening of the 8th of July. They end up at Chonan, which is there. So that's where the end play sort of works. So essentially North Koreans want to be aiming for Chonli. I mean, obviously you can defend any way you like, but the 3rd are over here. So presumably you'd want to maybe shift them across this way, or bring them down this way, or some such variant. I mean, alternatively you could counterattack across here. That would be good. And alternatively, you could just sort of bring them down there like that. So lots of opportunities or options. I've no idea what I'm going to try. It's going to be tricky getting it across. I think the best way, because well, the thing is, it doesn't matter when you go through these hills. It's one hex at a time anyway. So for him to sort of get anywhere would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into there. 1, 2, however, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Depends on how quickly these guys go. Now, what I did think of doing was setting the first 34 in Songjongni, but it doesn't say they're in Songjongni. It sort of starts them off there. So, which was their 5th, 6th July position. And this is the advance on the 6th, so presumably they were there on the 5th, and they were there on the 5th, so presumably they could come across this road here, which is along here. You know, maybe this unit could be better placed there, giving them the opportunity, because if they can go here, they can get possibly 1, 2. So I think I'm going to try and push them across here actually, but the thing is we've got to hold that bridge, you see. Oh, it's so interesting, isn't it? You know, because if they get stuck on this side of the river, if we lose this bridgehead before they can get across, you know, we might not be able to retreat. Could be worthwhile trying this a couple of ways, because the thing is they could get obviously across this river, but that would be 1. But they might get slowed down because on a road. They might be able to get there in 1. But from there they get slowed down. and then we get there in one. But from there they might be able to, they probably wouldn't be able to attack heavily. I mean, they might be able to put everything into there and then attack into there and then have one thing to, they could possibly get there in two. So we could get there in two, and then they could possibly move everything along here, attack into there, and be in there for three, meaning that they were stuck. And then they would have to go back round this way and down. That's interesting. But it depends on how the battles go. So let's just get into it. Okay. So this river would be a good defensive line. It's North Koreans first, what am I even thinking? I've got other things on my mind actually. Look at all those units. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. That's a lot of units. Okay, now the secret here, they're all out of movement. And here, they've all got one movement left. So if they've got one movement, the secret here is to attack with everything apart from one, but they're 4 in hills, which means that they are tripled, aren't they? So they're worth 12. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. That's exactly 7 to 1. There should be 7 to 1, shouldn't it? Surely. What are 7 12s? 84. 84. 7 12s are 80. What are 7 12s? I can't think. 7 12s are 70. Plus 2 7s is 14. How did they get that? I don't know. They're not 7 12s. What am I talking about? Lost the plot now. Oh no, they're defending at 8. So that was 10 to 1. I'm not sure. I'm not clear. I'm thinking about now. Right, anyway, so we've got the DE. But due to the I'm going to end up talking about this forever now. Due to the incredible modification of the DE result, it didn't destroy this unit, thus destabilising the historic structure of the whole game. They're still there. They got pushed back heavily, which is pretty much exactly what happened. But there's one little guy in here. So perhaps coming off the road wasn't the best thing. You can't because he got into a zone of control. So that's that. Okay, so Now the Americans really probably don't want to be pushing in this direction. Well, the problem is, do they actually want to defend at this river line? Because the answer to that might be yes. Because if what I'm going to do, if I move that back to there, and then this into there and that into there, that will defend that hex, giving me a defensive position next turn, hopefully across here. And I really need to get across now. I don't want to be in there and then DE and pushed back to there. But if I do get that hex, and let's assume it's impenetrable, North Koreans could go around if it's free. Now if they do that, I'll see them doing it and I'll be able to respond probably quite adequately. Form a line like that, first like that and then like that, etc. But they can only cross sort of there. This is a river, so they can cross quite simply there. What I'm saying is it could have been worth forming a line along there or even along there, but I don't think it is. But if I leave this completely empty, you could just take a task force all the way around there, but it'd probably take forever to arrive. I think this is one of those games where the opening moves are going to be quite obvious. I can still adjust the number of these units. It doesn't say anything other than the 4th Division, so I've sort of given them quite a lot, but obviously quite a lot is quite a lot. So I might want to whittle that down a little just to make it a little more challenging, or a little more thought-provoking. But I really don't know what to do with this. I think I just want to sort of run them round and start thinking about my defence. And their line of defence was there, just above Chonan. So presumably they did come across and down, or down here through Ipchang, down to there. So I think I'm going to sort of do it almost historically and prepare myself for a line of defence at Chonan there. I mean, you've got to remember, a lot of these games did actually do follow the historic narrative in the sense that they were following roads. You know, they prefer to go along roads for obvious and logical reasons. And I think, you know, we can follow that assumption here. So let's see how far I can get with this unit, because he can get 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can probably bring them down this way. I think if I go that way and that way, it's the same difference. If I go here, I can get him onto the track at least. Hang on. Yeah, he can get across there. So 1, 2, 3, and he went 1, 2, 3, and he's gone. No, he can't move along that track. He might be able to get 2 along the track though. 1, 2, 1, 2. And this guy definitely wants to try and get through here. And this is quite good actually, because I think we've got more movement than I thought. They really needed to get into that hex. What they should have done is left something in Songjong with 2 movements, so after the battle, or they would have to have taken that hex. Because I can move everything out of Pyeongtaek across the river, creating that very difficult to cross river crossing, which would mean that it might also be a consideration to actually redeploy these along this river. I mean, you know, that would almost be a pretty good way of doing things. one of the things I've been planning for a while and is stacking limits, and this is a good example because I really don't want to sort of sit there with all these units in one stack. I think that one of the ways I was going to do stacking limits was to essentially not limit the stacks, but limit the number of items that can be used in combat in a stack. And because of the way the maths work, the computer, the HTML works, that would probably be just an arbitrary whoever's at the top of the stack. So when you went in to do an attack, you could only fight with your first 5 units, for example, and that would obviously imply that if your first 5 units were artillery and all the rest were your infantry and armour, that you'd be knackered. Now, ideally, you'd better change the order of the stack, but you can't. In this game, you can't do that. I mean, I could put that code in, I guess, but what I'm doing is just something to limit the stack options, but it's not I play at the moment, so we'll take it as it comes. We've moved all these people, so we might as well get on to the next turn. So moving there wasn't really a good idea. Should be on 0 movement. I mean, they can still move along this river. It's quite interesting actually, because I probably should at least consider. I could actually put him 1, 2, so I could actually get something that should at least block that road. So if they want to come across that way, they're going to have to do it very slowly, because if I just leave the road open, they can move quite fast along that road. It's quite an interesting game really, because it's actually, you know, putting the issue of the roads on the table, so to speak. You know, the roads are making a difference because these units can move 3 along the roads. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. With 4 turns I could get there. Fighting across here is going to be expensive. Doesn't look right, does it? I'm going to wait a turn. I don't want to. Well, I could actually do an attrition. That's not going to cost me anything. Gives an idea of what the odds are coming up at 1 to 1.4. Okay, so the Americans. Blocking force on this hex here, because that would force him to cross the river. But he could probably do that quite simply. Okay, let's loot this unit to contend to that. Contend with that. Can leave them there. I'm not going to do an attrition because I want the other unit to recover. I want them to all recover actually. Yep. but the other one will still be at 1.4 presumably. And that's all we covered yet. Okay, so the North Koreans. Well, I think they're going to just batter their way across this river. Exchange. The epic battle of this river line. Look at that. That's quite surreal. Well, they're going to sort of sit there. These guys now have got lots of time. Now they're dug in. North Koreans are going to try again. This is a classic, I think. I think it's sort of one of these things where you got to figure out the knack of what to do on your opening moves. You know, it's not sort of one of these things with endless replayability, but I think there's got to be a way for these North Koreans to possibly avoid this situation by doing something specific in those first few turns, possibly by splitting the Americans to stop them being able to get across the river. They can't afford any more attacks. The good thing with the North Koreans, is that they pretty much can't be counter-attacked by the Americans, so that they can sit there and recover. And now they will have to think of another way around this river. So the delaying action is proving really good, and they just do not have enough units to be able to force their way over this river. So this is a game of geography, where geography really comes into play. I mean, we've got this impassable river, but then these smaller rivers, but lots of hills. And if there was, earlier on turn 4, you could set sort of victory conditions for certain times. I don't know what to do with these now. They're just so spoiled. They've got so much time in front of them to always do whatever they want. And there isn't really another natural defensive point. I mean, the defensive point here is the town or the village, but it's not a great bonus, but possibly 1, 2, 3. I feel inclined to sort of go back up and try and really defend this river hex as well. I think what I'm going to do is just put them in there. Well, North Koreans are not going to do anything. So if we're up there digging in, and these guys are now just a reserve. North Koreans, depression 1, so they'll sit this turn out. And Americans will sit the turn out. Right, now they've got the opportunity now to go across the river again, but they're now dug in and might not be entrenched. They're dug in 5, so they're not entrenched, but that is going to be another 1-to-1. Can we? Let's go for it, because if we fail, we can then recover another turn and go around. I think we're going to have one more go. And this is a principle that I really set out to implement right at the very beginning when I did the game, is forcing people to sort of sit there and spend a few turns recovering every now and then to get their strength up. You know, I think in a lot of games you sort of think of hit points as, you know, their hit points, and you know, you can go all the way down to sort of death or something, but in this game it was sort of designed and it has applied in this situation where if you get even a slight amount of damage, you regroup. We spent a couple of turns regrouping, but that regrouping now has given us good order, which means that we can try this attack again, but I don't think we can try it too many times. But the thing is, if it's a 1-to-1, we've had 2 1-to-1s so far and failed, we should win this one. Hopefully, fingers crossed. No. But we can recover from that. They're losing troops, but they can recover. That's the interesting thing. Now, is that a bad game mechanic, or is that sort of something that is interesting? They're going to sit it out and recover. I mean, this is where you possibly should have ammo limitations. So, what do the North Koreans want? They're entrenched now, so they're not going to try that again. They're just simply not. They don't have any artillery. Didn't say they have any artillery. So we're going to split our forces up. Now we shouldn't need too much. I'm going to split the forces up so that we've got half going this way. I'm going to put 12 going this way, just because I want to sort of play it, not so much historically, but I think that that's probably more in line with what they might do. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's just reload that and just check that I've got 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we can do some attrition at least. So North Koreans are unhappy with their progress. 2! That was good. Maybe they shouldn't go back. Right, the Americans are not going to do anything, which means they recover down to 1. The other one should be, he's at 2.4. Now he's entrenched. But North Koreans are going to continue with their evil plan. Now, fighting across a minor river isn't as bad as this bridge. I don't think they lose a lot. I think it's half. I could look it up in the rules, but I'm not a sort of rule lookup person. I just play it. That's why I like to do it. Just play it. There's going to be some sort of reduction. And we'll do another attrition here. Nope. Okay, so the Americans have now got some decisions to make, because these people are going to take a hammering. They're going to sit there, we're just going to sit there. Turn 10 already. I think the Americans can get a bit of it. It's a bit like Chonan, really. It's really sort of taking their time, forcing them to take their time. Okay. Well, let's just try this attrition. .2. And here, I think what we're going to do is put one unit there and select just about everything else here. Now, it should be quite clear to the commander of the 3rd 34th that they're going to lose that position. And this is another thing that I find interesting, in that you should be able to play a war game by manoeuvre. Because of the manoeuvred position there, now they should have been able to see this before, they should have been able to anticipate this and then move, but now they've been forced. So, but we haven't been forced at the moment because we haven't been attacked, but we have less options now. But the thing is, it did slow them down, so it had an effect. It slowed them down, it split them off the road, so they don't have that high road manoeuvrability, although these people could, instead of going around, I mean, it's almost quicker. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Couldn't have really got there, but you know, it's hit, swings around nice really, but slightly, almost slightly quicker to just come down this way. And plus they've sort of cut this American unit off. Now they're not going to attack this turn because they've run out of movement. But the Americans' turn now, they're going to have to move away. Now giving up their position gives up their entrenchments, so they might be better off to fight it, but it also means that if they go this way, they get into that town, it gives them a little bit of defence, and also forces these units to move away from the way they'd really ideally like to be going, forcing a decision here as to sort of what they do. However, we've got the same sort of decisions here now. Do we move back over into Ipchang and try and form a defensive line along there? See, now they've got the decision as to, again, in similar sort of manoeuvrability question, do they start moving south now and just give up that, take a bit of pressure off of this unit, because they're going to probably get attacked otherwise. And so with some more attrition. Probably all well recovered now, apart from that one that took a fairly major hit earlier on. He's at 1.4 minimum, I think. If he went up to 3.4, take off 2, he's never going to get below 1.4 now. So he's taken some permanent damage. But here, is it going to be worth ignoring that? Possibly splitting the force into 2 yet again, sending 6 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1 this way. Those are not good odds, but we can go for attrition. which is a 1-to-1. So maybe not that tough. It sort of blocks that road. I mean, they can maybe move there. Right. So I want to keep there, I think. I also want to keep here, but they'll just be able to come across here. See, how much longer do we hold on here? I think because they've only got 12 companies, it's about 3 regiments, 3 battalions, something like that, isn't it? We can start moving one of these down here. I can move both of these into there. It would probably be attacked, but it would force him to do something with lesser odds. Here, I think we definitely want to at least try and move down this road. Yep, okay. So we could try and join up. I think this is a good move because it stops them coming forward, and we've only got 2 hexes now. We could possibly join up next time. It's going to be. I don't think it's going to happen because they'll probably move into there and there, but you just don't know what necessarily is going to happen. We're starting to reduce down there. We've still got some sort of central reserve. Okay, well, what's these odds here now? One to 2. Now here, we should have good odds with the surround as well. 4-to-1, and that nice DE result has meant that they've just been pushed back with a heavy depression factor. Here, I think what we want to do is try and punch through here with everything bar 1. The odds are not going to be brilliant, but North Koreans can take it, I think. We've got DE, DR, which means that one of these units now will be able to advance into there, compromising that line, and then when the rest of this can attack this unit. With another DR, scuppering that defensive line. It's just too fragmented now. I mean, we might be able to get there. We could possibly push across there, hold that, possibly hold that, maybe by pushing that into there, and then him into there. We really have to start considering the escape plan over here. It's so exciting, I've completely lost track of the time, not much long to go. So, we moved everything, didn't we? So, See if we could move back with that now. And he could probably just move across there to block that. I was thinking of moving him in there just to sort of really slow things down, but it's probably pointless. I'll leave it at that. Still leaving up the full load there. Well, they're going to try and do some more attrition. Huh. Oh. I didn't do an attrition, did I? Oh, at least they can recover. It doesn't matter. I'll just have to assume that they will recover. I'm not going to advance into Pontiac. I'm getting a bit tired. I had something hot to eat and all my mouth is all like hot. I mean, I'm eating outside, it's a bit too hot to eat. Blistered or something. And what have we got over here? Well, I think we've got to do that. And that. Bring these guys down. No movement. No movement. Possibly just try and do some damage against that. Over the river. Well, that's not too bad. Puts him in the positions that he probably want to be in. It sort of cuts everything else off. That was a bugger. Okay. We'll leave all that. That's good. A DR. No depressions, I'll leave that. Okay, we should be back to scratch up here. It's going to take him a bit longer to recover, doesn't matter. Here. Well, I think this is going to crumble soon. If I press escape, that will get rid of that. So, if we give up on this, because next turn I could leave it one more turn. The thing is, if he gets in there, I need to push these back. I'm maybe panicking a bit, but I've only got a few more minutes left. And I'm going to also anticipate that moving him there. I think I've already moved him. I think we'll make him fight across the river, but otherwise we could have moved him there. I think they've done well, but I think their defensive lines are going to fall quite rapidly now. Well, we'll leave it one more turn for them to recover. Well, let's think about that. I could possibly commit 2 units to or even 4. To harass that. Three to 1 and a DR. But the rest, escape button. Right. Well, that's quite a nice retreat, quite a nice disengagement. Now they're all at zeros. They've recovered. So, here they come. We might be able to destroy that unit eventually. That pushed him back, but his morale now, his depressions are at 8. I forgot about him. We could even leave him, send him back this way. DR. See, that all came about because I left him to defend up against this river, hoping that he could disengage, but he just never really got it. If I disengaged that turn earlier, I might have been able to keep him with the group. But if it wasn't for that, we've got perfect, almost perfect order here. I mean, a perfect sort of order of battle. I mean, we're taking a bit of damage. He's on 2, 1.4, 4. You're going to get blown to bits. It makes you wonder what exactly gave them the sort of the ability to sort of hold here. And it was probably just a pause in, you know, their impetus, which again is something we can't really model in this. I imagine that in a bit we're going to be destroying these units piecemeal. Okay. Well, we've got to try and get away. Okay. We don't even need 3. We've done this with 2. DE eliminated. Okay. Thing that hasn't been anticipated is the bridging capability of the North Koreans. They might have had their own bridging, and this might have been readily fordable. There might have been a ferry, you know, outside Seoul. They had ferries, and you know, that might not have been the sort of strategic thing that it was. It wasn't the Rhine, for example. You know, it's probably not that big, and they probably, you know, given some engineering units, and I think both sides might have had some artillery. We haven't got any of that in, and so I've just used the map. I'm not going to do any battles this turn because I can't be bothered. There's 6 minutes left, and what I'm going to do is, well, this is where we need to dispatch some irregulars to sort of slow that line down. But I'm going to leave it at that because there's only 5 minutes left now. It is an interesting game. I think there's a few sort of things that could probably be added to it. Possibly something static down here, maybe some static artillery that will at least give the impression of this being a reasonably good place to defend. Because as soon as these units get up and close with these, you're going to start eliminating all of these units. But it was a sort of a rout, and really what we need at this stage is some kind of limit to define how much activity they can spend before they have to sort of slow down and rest. I'm pretty sure that both sides had artillery, but the thing is, the artillery would have only have helped the North Koreans at that river stage. Although the artillery has in the past helped, because it means that the North Koreans would have been accumulating damage, and because they had to keep an advance going, they wouldn't have been able to recover from it so readily. And if I'd given the United States a little more artillery, maybe just the North Koreans just a touch of artillery, then that might even things up a bit. But I think somehow, I don't know what other divisions there. Maybe I could assume, because it does say the 34th were there. But what about the second 34th? Maybe I could put them in there, in entrenchments 1, 2, 3, and that would really sort of give them something to run back to. That what they would have, with a lot of artillery that they have to get their teeth into. But I prefer, when I'm looking at those scenarios, to keep it as historic as possible, and without actually reading a lot more into it. And I have actually got quite a few books on the Korean War now, at least 3, possibly 4. Without looking more into it, I can't really say. But so I'm not going to go more advanced than this, just for the sake of trying to create a balanced game. But I can certainly come back to it at some point and maybe add things that will give it a little more dimension. But anyway, that's that. I thought that was pretty exciting. I think it's only going to go one way from here, but I wasn't expecting the difficulty across that river and the excitement of down here. You can almost sort of play it as the top half of this game, and if you gave it a sort of 10-turn limit, it'd have some interesting sort of aspects to it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to play, you can sign up and twirl, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.